Benjamin Moore's Swiss Coffee is a gorgeous warm white that can make your home feel classy and comfortable at the same time. If you're someone that loves this type of paint color and you want to know about which other colors coordinate with it, that's what today's video is all about. Hit the like button for those clear and concise intros. I love YouTube. Welcome to Fast 5, where I take one popular paint color and then find 5 other paint colors to go with it. That way, if you were looking for a color palette for your home, or even just a few extra ideas to fill in some gaps, allow me to be your colorful guide. I'm not going to do a deep dive on Swiss Coffee itself, that will be for another video. But the TLDR of it all is Swiss Coffee is one of Benjamin Moore's best-selling colors, period, let alone off-white colors. And it has just the right amount of creamy, yellow-based warmth that feels soft and elegant. The 5 colors that I'm going to go through today all vary in depth or dynamism. We have a white, a light, a mid-tone, a dark, and a daring color, all which fit seamlessly with Swiss Coffee. We'll begin with Steam AF-15, which essentially is another soft white paint color to pair alongside Swiss Coffee. I didn't necessarily want to go in the opposite direction and pick something that's really stark or even cold. I didn't want a white that would compete with Swiss Coffee. So that's why Steam was my choice. It's just a bit lighter, and it may be a bit less warm, but it's still neutral enough to fit in perfectly. The difference between the two is rather subtle, which works out nicely in those spots where you want to turn down the warmth just a tad, where Swiss Coffee maybe has a bit too much creaminess in certain situations. Steam is also passive enough to be used as an off-white ceiling paint color or even a trim color. That is, unless you want to just continue Swiss Coffee onto those surfaces as well. I'll leave that up to you. You can't force me to make all the decisions, right? It's just advice. White color, done. Great. Now let's move on to our light coordinating color, which has a light reflectance value of around 69, making it light objectively, but it has some depth as well. It's called Morning Dew OC140, also known as 1493. So no matter which color code you punched in online, the same color will come up. The color is a bit of a greenish, which combines gray beige with a green undertone. You're seeing more and more designers opt for neutrals like this that have that green undertone, and I think it's because of green's ability to create a tranquil feel. Oftentimes people want to deviate from just plain old beige, but they don't want to veer too far off the beaten path, and a color like Morning Dew allows you to do that. Excellent joke there, James. Very punny. Next to Swiss Coffee, Morning Dew's gray will feel a little more prominent because it's playing against that creaminess in Swiss Coffee, but that allows it to contrast a bit more while still being a light to neutral color. Light color done. Remember how we said that green can feel tranquil? Well, how much more tranquil can you get than a color called Tranquility, AF-490? So yes, there is a hint of green mixed in somewhere here, but I almost classify this color as a sage gray blue with an LRV of 53.31. It combines blue and gray with a bit of green, but all of it still feels pretty mellow and toned down, almost as if the color started with a base of gray and then you added in the blue and the green afterwards. I would say it's on the lighter side of midtones, meaning you can think of it as a room color for the walls in a lot of cases. It's just not going to feel quite as warm and comforting as some of the other colors we talked about earlier. Not to say that cooler colors like this can't be comforting, that's all personal preference, but at any rate, it'll just give you a very different feel to the space compared to using something like Swiss Coffee, for example. But different is good when you're trying to put together a palette that has some depth to it. Midtone, done. The dark color is going to switch things up a little bit, but still be deemed as part of the neutral color palette, and that's because it's based on brown. Coriander Seed, AF-110, has an LRV just above 23, and while some brown colors can lean heavily into red, Coriander Seed is shaded with dark gray, which can give it the slightest green undertone in those north-facing rooms especially. It does feel like it has more of a yellow undertone rather than red, so you don't have to worry about this color feeling rosy or pinky. It'll pretty much read as one of those more traditional, kind of tan leather type of colors. Great to be used as an accent color, but neutral enough where you can use it in spaces like living and dining rooms and even offices, really anywhere. But just keep in mind, those darker colors, they will make a space feel a bit more dark, although that darkness can create the illusion of the walls receding or expanding outward, which could make your space look even larger. Fun fact. Dark color, done. But what if you did want some fun rosiness out of your browns? Well, that's what this next color does. It's my daring color pairing of the video, and it's called New England Brown 2104-40. But this brown is definitely rich with a red undertone, giving it not quite a dusty rose aesthetic, more muddy rose. It's all about muddy rose now, forget dusty rose. But seriously, this is what a brown base looks like when it's loaded with an almost violet red undertone. Compared to the last brown we talked about, there's a big difference. They both have a similar level of depth and a similar light reflectance value, but very different undertones, creating very different looks. Here's how the colors look all together. And please let me know, which one was your favorite? Catch you next time.